uncertainty and caution over the path ahead after the US unilaterally extends a ceasefire with Tehran indefinitely. This as reports emerge of ships being fired at in the Strait of Hormuz and an alleged seizure of vessels by Tehran. US President Donald Trump says the truce will hold at the request of Pakistani mediators until Iran submits a proposal. It remains unclear if Iran or Israel have agreed to the extension. An advisor to Iran's lead negotiator calling Mr. Trump's announcement a ploy to buy time for what he calls a surprise attack. Diplomatic efforts in overdrive as mediators try to bring the two sides back to the negotiating table. But efforts made complicated by reports of attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. A British maritime agency says gunfire was reported on at least 3 container ships. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it seized 2 vessels for maritime violations and directed them to Iranian territorial waters. And our correspondents have been tracking developments for CNA. Kate Fisher joins us live from Washington, D.C., while Hira Mustafa is standing by in Islamabad. Now, Kate, let's start with you first. Do we have more details on these attacks on the Strait, and also any more clarity from the Trump administration on what's next when it comes to the ceasefire timeline?
Well, as for these ships that the IRGC say they have attacked on the Strait of Hormuz, they say it was 2 container ships off the strait. And the reason was because these ships attempted to navigate without the necessary permits, with the IRGC Navy saying that that is a red line for them and therefore they had to take action. We've just had a social media posting from an Iranian lawmaker who has posted an eye for an eye, a tanker for a tanker, perhaps referring to the fact that the US Navy had seized a vessel yesterday that it said was carrying Iranian oil in the Indian Ocean. And then on Sunday, it also seized an Iranian flagged cargo ship. And so this could be a reference to that. So certainly it looks like the Iranians are not backing down at all. As for the clarity on the US situation, it's really hard to see, given the fact that yesterday Donald Trump was talking about he was expecting to be bombing and that the military was ready to take action once again. And then we're now in this situation where he says there's an indefinite ceasefire. Essentially, he says that the Pakistanis asked him to hold off and he's agreed to do that until he gets a unified proposal from the Iranians. But there is no end date on that. And it does feel as though the Iranians at the moment are kind of holding the cards, given the fact that Donald Trump so desperately clearly needs the Strait of Hormuz to be reopened. Americans are paying more for gas at the pumps. His approval ratings when it comes to the economy are tanking. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz was open before he began this military operation back in February.
Kate, thank you for the update. Now, Hira, let's turn to you and bring you in now. Pakistan says that it will press on to bring both Washington and Tehran back to the negotiating table, but it's already been trying to do so for days. So what is it going to do differently this time around?
Well, behind the scenes, Pakistani officials are frantically working the phones, holding back-to-back meetings and are maintaining close contact with both the sides. At this stage, it's very difficult to say what a different approach Pakistan is adapting to bring both the warring parties to the negotiating table to discuss the diplomatic off-ramp. But what we do know is that diplomacy is in full swing. Both the Pakistan's military and civilian leadership are in direct contact with the Iranian leaders, as well as the Americans are convincing both the parties to find the middle ground to resolve the conflict through dialogue. But this whole scenario, this stalemate, has put Pakistan in an extremely awkward situation. From the past few days, Islamabad is under strict security lockdown because Pakistan was preparing for the possible round two of Iran-US talks. But we haven't seen that development going ahead because none of the Iranian delegation or or either of the American delegation have arrived in Islamabad. The unprecedented security measures are still in place. Businesses are shut. Educational institutions are operating online. And this whole scenario is creating uncertainty among the citizens. They are getting nervous and anxious because of this security lockdown. And we do not know yet when these restrictions will be eased up. So there is quite uncertainty in the capital. And apart from this, there is a huge disappointment in the capital. In the past few days, we have been hearing from multiple Pakistani sources saying that they are very confident that the round 2 of the Iran-US talks will go ahead, but we haven't seen that happening. So there is a lot of disappointment here in the capital. And many analysts who we have been speaking to in the capital are telling us that now for Pakistan, it's a matter for national honor, and failure to do so in order to bring back the warring parties to the negotiating table is going to be a huge diplomatic setback for the country.
Hira, thank you so much for that update. I've been chatting with both Hira Mustafa reporting live from Islamabad and also Kate Fisher from Washington, D.C.